Hey everyone, today I want to talk to you about how the ancient Egyptians thought about heaven and life after death. I'll explain what they believed heaven was like, where they thought it existed, and what they believed happened to people once their life on earth ended. Some of these ideas may sound unusual to us today, but for the Egyptians, these beliefs helped them understand the world, nature, and the meaning of life itself. The Egyptians had a very different way of imagining the sky compared to what we know now. They believed the blue sky above them was like a giant iron roof spread across the entire world. This huge roof was held up at the four corners of the earth, north, south, east, and west, by massive mountains. To them, the sky was not empty space, but something solid and powerful. They believed the stars were small lamps hanging down from this roof, lighting up the darkness of night so the world below would not be completely dark. They also believed that a great river flowed around the world in the sky, much like the Nile flowed through Egypt. Every single day, the sun traveled across this river in a boat, spreading light and warmth as it moved from east to west. The sun was not just a ball of fire to them, but a living force on a daily journey. When the sun reached the west, it did not stop or disappear forever. Instead, they believed it sailed behind tall mountains and entered a dark and hidden world that people could not see. During the night, the sun continued its journey through this darkness, and by morning, it returned once again to light the sky. After the sun disappeared each evening, the moon followed in its own boat across the sky. The Egyptians believed the moon needed protection, so it was guarded by two watchful eyes that never slept. Even with this protection, the moon was not always safe. They believed that every month, the moon was attacked by a powerful enemy shaped like a sow. For the first half of the month, the moon sailed safely and slowly grew bigger and brighter in the sky. When it reached its fullest shape, the enemy attacked, knocked it from its place, and threw it into the sky river. Over the next 2 weeks, the moon slowly faded away until it almost disappeared. At the beginning of the next month, it returned again, starting the cycle over. This was how the Egyptians explained why the moon changes shape. The Egyptians believed in many gods, and their religion was very complex and detailed. However, the most important part of their beliefs was the idea of life after death. They strongly believed that death was not the end of a person's existence. Instead, they believed people lived forever, and that death was simply the beginning of a new kind of life. Whether this new life was peaceful or full of suffering depended on how a person had lived while they were alive on earth. Many of these beliefs came from the story of a king named Osiris. Long ago, when the world was still young, Osiris ruled Egypt as a kind, fair, and wise king. He taught people useful skills such as farming and laws, and he cared deeply for his people. Because of this, he was loved by many. But Osiris had a brother named Set, who was jealous, cruel, and full of hatred. Set secretly planned to get rid of Osiris. One day he invited Osiris to a grand feast, and showed everyone a beautifully made chest. Set promised to give the chest to anyone who fit inside it perfectly. One by one people tried, but none fit. When Osiris lay down inside the chest, Set and his helpers quickly shut the lid and threw the chest into the Nile River. The chest floated away with Osiris trapped inside. His wife Isis searched for him everywhere, refusing to give up hope. After a long search, she finally found the chest and mourned for her husband. But Set discovered her and, filled with anger, tore Osiris's body into pieces and scattered them across the land. Isis did not give up. She searched tirelessly, found every piece of her husband's body, and buried them with great care and respect. Osiris and Isis had a son named Horus. When Horus grew up, he challenged Set and fought him in a long and difficult battle. In the end, Horus defeated Set. The gods gathered together to judge what had happened and decided that Osiris was right and Set was wrong. They brought Osiris back to life, made him a god, and chose him to be the judge of all people after death. Because Osiris had died and returned to life, the Egyptians believed that people who followed him could also live forever after death. According to Egyptian belief, when a person died, their body was carefully preserved and placed inside a tomb so it would last forever. The soul then traveled to the land of the dead and arrived at the Hall of Truth, where Osiris judged all souls. To enter this hall, the soul had to know special secret names of the gates. Inside the hall stood a large scale used for judgment. A god stood nearby to record the results, while 42 frightening beings watched closely. Each of these beings was responsible for punishing a certain kind of sin. The soul had to speak and say that it had not committed the sins these beings punished. After this, the person's heart was taken and weighed against a feather, which stood for truth and honesty. If the heart was heavier than the feather, it meant the person had lived wrongly. Their heart would then be thrown to a terrifying monster that was part crocodile, part hippopotamus, and part lion. This monster destroyed the hearts of the unjust. But if the heart balanced perfectly with the feather, Horus led the soul to Osiris. Osiris declared the person good and allowed them to enter heaven. The Egyptians had several ideas about what heaven was like. Some believed that good souls became stars in the night sky, shining forever and watching over the world below. Others believed that these souls joined the sun and traveled with it across the sky every day, sharing in its endless journey. The most popular and loved belief was that heaven was a beautiful land to the west, called the Field of Bulrushes. In this land, crops grew taller and richer than anything known on earth. Fields were green and full of life, and rivers and canals were filled with fish. These waterways were surrounded by reeds and bulrushes, making the land peaceful and beautiful. After passing through many dangers, the soul finally reached this land and lived forever in calm and happiness. People spent their time farming, sailing in small boats, resting under trees, or playing games in the evening. For most people, especially those who had worked hard all their lives, this sounded like a perfect reward. But rich nobles began to feel differently. They had never worked on earth and did not want to work in heaven either. At first, some nobles tried killing their servants at their graves so the servants could work for them in the afterlife. This practice did not last long, because the Egyptians were kind-hearted people, and soon felt this was too cruel. Instead, they found another solution. They made small clay figures shaped like servants, each one holding tools or baskets. These figures were called answerers. When a noble was buried, many of these figures were placed in the tomb with him. The Egyptians believed that when work was required in heaven, the answerers would rise up and do the work instead of their owner. Many of these figures had short messages written on them, telling them to answer when called to work in the afterlife. While this idea may seem strange or even funny to us today, it made perfect sense to the Egyptians. Even though many of these beliefs may sound unusual now, the Egyptians believed strongly that how a person behaved in life truly mattered. They believed good people would be rewarded and bad actions would eventually be judged, even if justice was not seen on earth. Although they lived long ago and did not understand everything about the world, they were still reaching toward ideas of truth, fairness, and right and wrong.